Good morning, or good afternoon, depends on if you're on the East Coast or not, right? My name is John Otero. I'm Director of Restoration Products for Dry-Ease. Today it's going to be a privilege. We have Chris Randall. He has been with Protimeter for over 23 years. He's Global Product Manager, and Jane Canty has been with Protimeter for 24 years. And they're going to discuss with us um,
Hello?
Hygromaster 2 from Protimeter. Um,
Hello?
so it is a
Hey,
privilege
Nancy, how you
to have
doing?
them on here. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce
Oh, thanks.
Chris. Welcome.
Thank you. And John, maybe you
Yeah,
can
it'll be
just
fine
mute
back here.
everybody but me, and then, or me and you and Jane. Not sure. Okay. So my name is Chris Ranwell. As John said, that I'm the global product manager for the Protimeter line. In fact, I look after another couple of products within our business. We're part of a bigger company called Amphenol Advanced Sensors, and obviously prior to that, as many of you will know, we were part of General Electric. But we've been now part of Amphenol, which is a smaller but still a significant sized company for the last 2.5 years. And you've also probably noticed that in the last few years we've completely renovated our line from the yellow instruments to now the grey and yellow instruments. And what we're going to talk about today is the new Hygromaster 2, which is the latest of that generation of new family of instruments. So as I said, my name's Chris Ranwell. I'm the Global Product Manager. I'm responsible for design, development, sales of the Protimeter product line, and I'm based in Massachusetts. I was working for Protimeter in the UK, and Protimeter is in fact originally a UK company but been American owned since 2001. And I moved to the US to help start distribution with Jane, who I'm going to introduce you to in a second. And I came for 2 years in 1999, and I've been here ever since, so didn't go back. But we've been really kind of successful growing our brand in the flood damage restoration industry in North America, and in fact we have been building moisture meters since the early 50s, so we're one of the oldest moisture meter companies, if not the oldest, I think, in existence. So with that, I'll just pass briefly over to Jane, who many of you may know, who's our sales manager for North America, before I get on with the presentation. So over to you, Jane.
Thanks, Chris. Yeah, as Chris mentioned, we work very closely together. I manage basically the sales, and I'm the point of contact for Dry-Ease. A lot of you may already know me. I spend a good portion of my time traveling the country, visiting you all, doing conferences and training sessions as well. So just know that I'm here, know that I'm always reachable, and know that I'm here to help you with your Protimeter needs and questions and anything that may arise. So this is an exciting new product that we just came out with, and I think you'll all be very pleased with some of the features and benefits that you see. So Chris, I'll pass it back to you.
Thank you, Jane. So you saw an image of the product, and here's another image of the product here. We'll go into depth on the product, but first we'll talk a little bit about hygrometry. Just wanted to really point out hygromaster2.com is our website, and we'll show you a little bit more detail on that, including videos and so on, that you can go and look at the product and help get some training and so on. The statement on here is a big statement. Hygromaster 2 is the most complete, feature-rich handheld thermohygrometer available on the market. That's not a statement that we put out there lightly, and when we're doing a product development like this new handheld hygrometer, we look at everything that's available on the market, and we test against everything that's available on the market. We also do multiple surveys with some of our customers, particularly in the restoration industry, because the restoration industry is one of the bigger and more demanding industries for our product from a durability standpoint and from a performance standpoint. So it's a great market to build a product for. And so we reach out to those customers and really ask them what they want to see in a product, what are the downfalls of ours or the competitors' existing products that we can improve on. So, we're all about making sure that we provide a simple, easy-to-use, rugged, durable instrument for the industry. And if you've been using our instruments for a while, you've seen quite a big sweeping change, and this is the latest iteration of that change in family of products. We're going to be about half an hour on the call here, with questions. So I'm not going to take up any more of your time, but really appreciate the time that you're on the call. And I wanted just to, from an agenda standpoint, we're going to talk briefly about hygrometers and some best practices with hygrometers before we get into the features and benefits of the new Hygromaster 2. And then at the end, we'll talk about there's an Amazon $50 gift card that we're going to give away, so as a kind of a thank you to a random individual on the call.
Okay.
So, did somebody have a question there, or
Chris,
somebody off mute?
Chris, it's John. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So those in attendance, if you have any questions, I forgot to note that. If you have any questions for Chris or Jane, please go ahead and type them in the question box or chat box, and we'll go ahead and get those answered at towards the end of the presentation. We'll go over that with you.
Perfect. Thank you, John. So hygrometers, obviously, as most of you know, and we're measuring relative humidity, and the thermo bit is we're measuring temperature, and temperature and relative humidity go hand in hand. One is relative to the other, and we the de facto measurement system, if you like, for humidity is normally something called a chilled mirror hygrometer, which is more of a scientific instrument that uses a mirror that cools, and you can then detect the condensation with light sensors. And once you know dew point, then you can calculate relative humidity as well. And that's kind of the de facto instrument, but you're talking maybe $20,000, $30,000 to $50,000 for that type of product. And also it's pretty slow. Very accurate, but pretty slow. When I say very accurate, it's 1% accuracy. So that's about as best you can get spending a lot of money. So the meters that we make and the meters that you'll generally find on the market for restoration industry are around 2%. So, and that's typically between 20 and 80% relative humidity, or 10% and 90% humidity, depending on the manufacturer. And so, obviously, it's impractical for that type of product, a scientific type of product for your application. It does give great accuracy, but it really just goes to show accuracy is so important in flood damage restoration, particularly because we're measuring really the efficiency of the dehumidifiers is one of the primary objectives of using a thermohygrometer. And so a few percent change can make a big difference to your grains depression when you're measuring the output of a dehumidifier. So it's really important to have at least a 2% hygrometer. And generally, most of the hygrometers you guys will see and be using is a 2%, and so, that's about as best you can get. Generally, you pay for what you get, so the more expensive hygrometer, you're going to get better speed of response, which is very important for the restoration contractor, and accuracy. And there are products that are available significantly less, but will give you a 5% accuracy. And when we're talking about grains depression here, 5%, you're really not going to get useful information out of a dehumidifier, because the plus or minus variance is so great that you may be pulling water, but the hygrometer says you're not, or vice versa. So it's really important to get an accurate instrument as you possibly can. And then in terms of speed of response, every time typically you go to a flood damage job, and once it's set up and you're visiting, maybe moving some equipment and taking measurements, you're typically there for, let's say, an hour. Well, probably 15 minutes of that hour will be taking moisture measurements, and then the other time is taken up with making hygrometry measurements and making sure the hygrometer is settled and equilibrated with the environment and so on. And so having something that's slow responding is, the return on investment is not very good if you think about the time you spend at each job. Over just a week even, the payback is probably there. But certainly over the life of the hygrometer, there's a significant payback if you have something that's 2 or 3 times fast responding. So fast response is always one of the first things, if we're at a trade show, we're showing somebody a hygrometer, that's almost the first thing that they ask before they ask about accuracy. But accuracy and speed of response are extremely important, as you guys have identified just by your questions. So for restoration, we should really, be looking at nothing greater than 2%. So, less accurate than 2%, I should say. Just from a best practice standpoint, our hygrometer, our previous hygrometers, some of them have replaceable probes. Some of the other competitors have replaceable probes as well. And that is a really good benefit for the flood damage restoration contractor, because if a hygrometer goes out of calibration, then you're not going to send the whole thing away. You can simply replace the humidity probe. And I certainly recommend you have a spare humidity probe, what we would call a kind of a golden probe. It's there as a replacement if one of your meters goes down, but it's also there as a probe that's not being used, and you can check the accuracy of all your meters against it. Just when you're checking accuracy of your meters, is ideally you want to check it at the points of measurement that you're measuring. So the output of the dehumidifier, 100 degrees, let's say, less than 20% relative humidity, and then maybe like an unaffected reading, an affected area reading, something like 80 degrees and 70% relative humidity. So you can check using this golden probe. If your hygrometer is out of accuracy, replace the probe. You don't have to send your meter away for calibration and be without it for some time. So I think replacement probe is a really important feature that you should look for in any hygrometer. One of the tips that probably most people who are actually doing restoration already know, but I'll just go over it, is that these hygrometers take time to equilibrate, as we've already talked about, and most of that equilibrium time is not the change in relative humidity, it's the change in temperature. So it's always important, particularly if you're storing your equipment in a vehicle that could be in extreme cold or extreme hot, to think about the order in which you're taking your measurements. So you're typically taking an outside air temperature measurement, an unaffected area temperature and humidity measurement, an affected area temperature and humidity measurement, and the output of the dehumidifier. So do that in order, and if it's winter, you do it going up the temperature scale, and if it's summer, you may dance around a little bit depending on the temperature, but try and do it in temperature order. That will speed up your time taking hygrometry readings. If you go from it being 40 degrees outside to 105 degree output of a dehumidifier, that's going to take some time. So step up all the time. The other thing is keep your instruments clean and out of the way of dust and dirt and water, although it'll take a certain amount of water in terms of condensation anyway. But we actually, with this new hygrometer, you'll see a new case which will actually come through on our MMS2 as well. It really keeps the instrument free of dust and free from being damaged. So it's really important you try and look after them in that way, and put your hygrometers and your moisture meters, to that fact, in cases where you can. So that's just a few quick tips on hygrometers and best practices with hygrometers, and now I'll just move into the Hygromaster 2 itself. Firstly, you'll know you've probably seen the MMS2, or some of you have MMS2s, or for some of the distributors I'm sure are very familiar with the instrument, the MMS2. I mean, the Hygromaster from the outset looks like the MMS2. In fact, when you get one in your hand, you'll see that it's significantly smaller, and obviously it doesn't have the pin function or the non-invasive moisture measurement function on it. It's simply a hygrometer with a surface infrared thermometer. However, we've taken a lot of the design features out of the MMS2 and put into this. With the MMS2, we understood from customers what they really liked was they could put it in the hands of anybody and they could immediately use it, and that's because of the user interface that we designed into the unit. So, a little bit like a TV remote or a DVD, you've got this D button control pad that you can go up, down, and enter. I mean, really, it takes 10 seconds to learn how to use the product, and it's very intuitive once you're in there, to go up and down in the menus and back in the menus, and you can move from, one screen to another screen very, very slickly and easily. And, we used to have, with our old series of meters, people calling up and say, how do I change this from degrees to C to degrees F? And we would get those calls several times a week. I don't think, since we launched the MMS2 and the Hygromaster 2, I've not received a single one in 3 years. So that's how easy it is now to kind of operate and go around the settings and so on. So it's a color screen again, like the MMS2, and that gives us some benefits of having a color screen. We can actually use color to our advantage and to help give you guys better information when you're using the product. The sensor on top is replaceable, and we talked about the benefits of replaceable sensors just a few minutes ago. And that sensor, in fact, is backwards compatible with all our previous instruments. And so sensors off previous instruments will fit on this. So all our range of sensors, whether it's, we do sensors specifically for high humidities in concrete floors, to what we call the short quick stick, and then the slightly longer quick stick, all fit in this instrument. You'll also notice at the top here, if you look at my cursor here, is the area where the surface infrared thermometer belongs, and that has a laser pointer as well. And this is somewhat an underused feature on both the MMS2 and hopefully not this one. This is obviously a new product, but you can stand in the middle of a room that you're drying, and you can point the instrument, a laser, at the wall, and it'll automatically tell you your temperature differential or your proximity to dew point or condensation. So down here, this is telling us that our surface temperature is 18.3 degrees away from dew forming. So what this is really useful for is if you want to avoid causing secondary damage, you're using your air movers to evaporate moisture into the air for the dehumidifiers to suck out, and that can cause an increase in humidity in the room that on the cold surfaces you can then start to get condensation forming. And if it was an area of the room or the building that had not had any flood damage, you could potentially cause further damage by adding condensation. So ideally you want to stay at least 5 to 7 degrees above that dew point. And in fact with the Hygromaster 2, you can stand in the room, point it at the wall, and without even looking at the display, you can go around the room very, very quickly, and you'll get an audible tone if you're at risk of condensation forming on that surface or condensation that's actually forming. And we talked about the color and the color display. Well, at the moment it's green here, but if this was to go into risk of condensation forming, this would go yellow, and if it was in condensation, it would go red with, again, in the yellow and red zone, you get an audible tone. So that's a really useful feature, and we do have it in the MMS2 as well. But not a lot of people talk to us about it, and I think it's just a useful feature that certainly we don't see really any competitors using that feature much. But the people we talk to, a light bulb goes on and they start using it. I've had some great feedback from customers on that feature. The instrument, in terms of its general use and speed of response, we tested against most of our all the common competitors that are for this market, and it's extremely fast responding product, and we wouldn't release it unless it had the greatest performance. The sensor itself is unfiltered, and if you put a filter on there, that slows down the response by at least twice. So, one of the reasons we talk about the case again, and the importance of keeping in the case, is remember this sensor, this instrument, if you like, has not got that much protection around the sensor itself because of the need for speed of response. So, but if you get the opportunity to try it, use it. The best way, I see a lot of people blowing on a sensor to see speed of response. Best way is really to just cup your hand around it, and the humidity in your hand will actually make that sensor rise up. And you can, please compare this against any of our competitors. You'll see how fast it is. On the displays we see here, you can see relative humidity and temperature here in its most basic form. And when we show, for instance, grains per pound, which is very commonly used, grains per pound will appear at the top here, and temperature and relative humidity will appear at the bottom. So you'll see all three on one screen. And then we also have a feature that allows you to customize the screen that you can see. So here you can see we've got relative humidity, temperature, dew point and grams per kilogram. It's obviously in degrees C, and so you're allowed to go into a custom screen. You can select the parameter you want to see. So maybe you want to see vapor pressure or enthalpy or grains per pound in here, and you can select the 4 items that you want to see in one display. And then, in fact, if the instrument turns off or you turn it off, when you come back on, it'll go straight back to that screen, so you don't have to change it again. But a really useful feature, and again, not a feature we see on a lot of other instruments out there, or any other instruments out there. Built into this product, we have 7 different languages. So if you have foreign speakers, we sell the product all over the world. And so, I know in North America we have Canadian-speaking people and Spanish-speaking people. Those languages are right in there, should you need them. The product has the ability to store data, so you can actually leave the instrument on site and it'll log at a predetermined time interval that you can choose, and you can set that right up in the meter or in the firmware, in the software that we provide free of charge for the meter. And then it also has the ability to save a reading with a specific unique identifier job number. And then that information can either be pulled off through our software or pulled off just like you would pull off a picture of a camera by plugging it in and seeing it in your Windows Explorer. And so the other thing that gives us the ability to do is when you connect to our software is if we add any features going forward in the future. So let's say there was a new psychometric reading that been developed for the industry that people wanted to see. We could very quickly update that, and then we can send that to you guys either via the software, or we would send an email to you saying, hey, there's a new software available free of charge. Plug your meter in and it'll update just like a smartphone would update. So, really kind of future-proof for that. And again, it's a feature that we don't see on anybody else's meter. We have a 2-year warranty on our product, which is, I think, pretty much, the #1 warranty available across the product line. But if you register your meter online, you will get an additional 3 months warranty, so 27 months. And one of the benefits, apart from obviously getting the additional 3 months, is if we do one of those firmware changes, we'll be able to notify you through that system once you've registered, and we'll say, hey, there's a new firmware available. You can now do this with the meter, or a customer suggested they wanted this feature change. We'll implement that in the software, test it, and then make it available for everybody. One of the resources that you might want to just go and look at is our website, hygromaster2.com, or you can get there from protimeter.com. We have the data sheets and manuals in different languages, just like we have the instrument. We obviously sell globally, but if any of you are in French or Spanish-speaking regions, then that might be useful. There's a video here of me just going through the functions on the meter. It's a very short video, definitely worth just reviewing quickly, particularly if you're a salesperson, but also if you're a customer interested in the product. Just gives you a little bit more of a feel for how the instrument operates in your hand. We will be doing more of those, and in fact we have a YouTube channel where we're trying to add videos on a constant basis, so not just really sales videos like this pretty much is. Well, this is a sales training video, I guess, but also some tip videos. So there's tips on replacing pins on our hammers and so on and so forth. So yeah, check out our YouTube channel. We're putting more and more information on there on a regular basis. You can also download the PC software from so if you have a Hygromaster 2, we don't supply a CD. Not many computers, to be honest, come down today with a CD. And so we just direct you to the website. You can download the PC software for free under the downloads area of the website. So check that out too. The new Hygromaster 2 replaces our Hygromaster, original Hygromaster, and our Cyclone meter. So those meters are going away and almost have gone away. And the 2 packages that you can get the product in are in the really very, very popular technician's kit, which holds the Survey Master, which I'm sure nearly everybody on the phone has either used or had one or have heard about anyway. It's the #1 dual function selling meter by a long way. So it comes in that kit with the Hygromaster 2 and the hammer electrode and some accessories for the pin probe. So that's called the Technician's Kit. Very, very popular. You know, everything in one case, very professional, keeps all the products clean, easy. You've got a hole and a compartment for each product, so you tend not to leave you know, equipment on site accidentally, because you want to check that every compartment's full. And on the right hand side, you'll see how the new Hygromaster 2 comes in this, what we call a thermoformed case. So it's kind of a hard soft case, which I'm sure a lot of you have seen those before. And in fact, we like this case so much, the MMS2, one of the formats it's sold in is in a soft pouch. We'll be moving over to this case for the MMS2 as well. And with that, I'll just hand over to Jane, who's just going to talk about the Protimeter trade-in program, and then we'll open it up for questions with John. So over to you, Jane.
Thanks, Chris. Just wanted to let everybody know we're currently running a trade-in program for a $50 Amazon gift card. And this is valid through the end of March, March 31st. It's pretty simple. For every Hygromaster 2 that's purchased, your customer can qualify for a $50 Amazon gift card. And the way they do that, and the quantities are unlimited. So for as many as one particular customer buys, you can get that many gift cards. So just make sure that your customer saves their proof of purchase, so their invoice or their receipt for the Hygromaster 2 purchased. You then want to make sure your customer goes to registeryourmeter.com. So here's another advantage. You're going to get the extra 3-month warranty, but you're also going to get a registration confirmation back by email. And we will need that in order to process this gift card. So now you've got your proof of purchase, your registration confirmation, and then the last thing we need is a trade-in hygrometer. So that's anybody's hygrometer, so ours or a competitor's, working or non-working. So you need those 3 pieces of information to send to us, and you can see the address at the bottom of the card there. Now this PDF is also available on the DryEase website. It will also be available, as you can see on the right there, to any of our customers or distributors who have a point-of-sale display. You can slide that card into the top there, and your customers can find a supply there. So just know that this is available. It's a pretty good deal in terms of, you know, getting a little bit more for your purchase, and, you know, being able to take advantage of the benefits of a Hygromaster 2. So any questions, just please type them in. I'll be happy to help you.
Chris, I wanted to add the information where you were talking about the surface temperature on there. That's really interesting, especially, I'm not sure if a lot of you know or should know, there's changes in the S500 for water damage jobs, and there's a lot more focus on using surface temperature. So having this available on the Hygromaster 2 is very valuable, and that's a great feature to have, Chris.
Yeah, it's certainly something that you know, we've been used. It really came back from, you know, when we were in the UK, or we're still in the UK, but you know, when they have a lot more moisture condensation problems over there, and we used to have plug-in surface temperature sensors to do exactly this. But obviously, the advent of technology that uses surface infrared thermopile technology has really enabled us to you know, move in this non-contact way, and that actually means a lot more people are using it because it's much easier to use, but it's really powerful. One little tip on that is, if you ever want to try it or demonstrate it, you know, get a can of soda out of the refrigerator and just shine it on it, and you'll see as soon as condensation starts to form on that can, the meter will show you that. And that's a kind of a demonstration we do at a lot of trade shows that's very powerful and proves the point. So it's a really good one. And then just generally, I was going to say, in terms of questions, I'll take questions now or by email, or you can see Jane's email up there. You can forward them to her as well, on any moisture meter related or in fact application related question that you have.
Right now we don't have any questions. There are a couple of distributors who are on the line, so they're looking to get the display or the insert display, Jane, and we can get that info to them. But Chris, you must have done a really, really good job because usually with webinars, if there's no questions, that means you've answered the questions before they could think about it. But very excited about this meter. If you haven't seen it, I'd definitely go to your closest distributor, take a look at it, and take a look at all the features. It's phenomenal. I've had a couple of customers come to me and tell me how they really, really liked it. So I think it's a home run you got here, Chris and Jane.
Thank you, John, and thank you everybody for attending. Again, if you have any questions, please don't feel free to contact us on those numbers, and we'll get back to you. No problem.
Great.
But I want to thank you all for attending, and John, thank you for organizing it.
Oh, absolutely. Appreciate it. It's always good to hear. Always learning something new from you and Jane. So thank you so much for your time. Thank you everybody for your time. We know it's probably a busy Friday, so for you to spend it with us, we do appreciate it. Have a great weekend.